Hello again, friends. I'm here to read you another book. Today's book is one of my favorite books from when I was a little girl. It's called Many Moons, and it was written by James Thurber, illustrated by Louis Slobodkin. And this book is a little bit longer, so I might have to do it in 2 parts. Many Moons. Once upon a time, in a kingdom by the sea, there lived a little princess named Leonore. She was 10 years old, going on 11. One day, Leonore fell ill of a surfeit of raspberry tarts and took to her bed. The royal physician came to see her and took her temperature and felt her pulse and made her stick out her tongue. The royal physician was worried. He sent for the king, Leonore's father, and the king came to see her. "I will get you anything your heart desires," the king said. "Is there anything your heart desires?" "Yes," said the princess. "I want the moon. If I can have the moon, I will be well again." Now the king had a great many wise men who always got for him anything he wanted, so he told his daughter that she could have the moon. Then he went to the throne room and pulled a bell cord, 3 long poles and a short pole, and presently the Lord High Chamberlain came to the room. The Lord High Chamberlain was a large fat man who wore thick glasses which made his eyes seem twice as big as they really were. This made the Lord High Chamberlain seem twice as wise as he really was. "I want you to get the moon," said the king. "The Princess Leonore wants the moon. If she can have the moon, she will get well again." "The moon!" exclaimed the Lord High Chamberlain, his eyes widening. This made him look 4 times as wise as he really was. "Yes, the moon," said the king. M-O-O-N, moon. "Get it tonight, tomorrow at the latest." The Lord High Chamberlain wiped his forehead with a handkerchief and blew his nose loudly. "I have got you a great many things for you in my time, your majesty," he said. "It just happens that I have with me a list of all the things I have got for you in my time." He pulled a long scroll of parchment out of his pocket. "Let me see now." He glanced at the list, furrowing. "I've got ivory, apes, peacocks, rubies, opals and emeralds, black orchids, pink elephants, blue poodles, gold bugs, scarabs, flies in amber, hummingbirds, tongues, angel feathers, unicorns' horns, giants and mermaids, frankincense, ambergris and myrrh, troubadours, minstrels, and a pound of butter, 2 eggs, and a sack of sugar. Sorry, my wife wrote that in there. "I don't remember any blue poodles," said the king. "It says blue poodles right here on the list, and they are checked off with a little blue check mark," said the Lord High Chamberlain. "So there must have been blue poodles. You just forgot." "Never mind the blue poodle," said the king. "What I want now is the moon." "I have seen as far as Samarkand and Araby and Zanzibar to get things for you, your majesty," said the Lord High Chamberlain. "But the moon is out of the question. It is 35,000 miles away, and it is bigger than the room the princess lies in. Furthermore, it is made of molten copper. I cannot get the moon for you. Blue poodles, yes. The moon, no." The king flew into a rage and told the Lord High Chamberlain to leave the room and to send the royal wizard to the throne room. The royal wizard was a little thin man with a long face. He wore a high red peaked hat covered with silver stars and a long blue robe covered with golden owls. His face grew very pale when the king told him that he wanted the moon for his little daughter and that he expected the royal wizard to get it. "I have worked a great deal of magic for you in my time, your majesty," said the royal wizard. "As a matter of fact, I just happen to have in my pocket a list of the wizardries I have performed for you." He drew a paper from a deep pocket in his robe. It begins, "Dear royal wizard, I am returning here with the so-called Philosopher's Stone, which you claimed—" No, that isn't it. The royal wizard brought a long scroll of parchment from another pocket out of his robe. "Here it is," he said. "Now, let's see. I have squeezed blood out of turnips for you and turnips out of blood. I have produced rabbits out of silk hats and silk hats out of rabbits. I have conjured up flowers, tambourines, and doves out of nowhere, and nowhere out of flowers, tambourines, and doves. I have brought you divining rods, magic wands, and crystal spheres in which to behold the future. I have compounded philter urgents and potions to cure heartbreak, surfeit, and ringing in the ears. I have made you my own special mixture of wolfbane, nightshade, and eagle's tears to ward off witches, demons, and things that go bump in the night. I have given you 7-league boots and the golden touch and a cloak of invisibility. It didn't work, said the king. The cloak of invisibility didn't work. Yes, it did, said the wizard. No, it didn't, said the king. I kept bumping into things, the same as ever. The cloak is supposed to make you invisible, said the royal wizard. It's not supposed to keep you from bumping into things. All I know is I kept bumping into things, said the king. The royal wizard looked at his list again. I got you, he said. Horns from Elfland, and from Sandman, and gold from Rainbow, a spool of thread, a paper of needles, and a lump of beeswax. Sorry, those are things my wife wrote down for me to get her. What I want you to do now, said the king, is to get me the moon. The Princess Leonor wants the moon, and when she gets it, she will be well again. Nobody can get the moon, said the royal wizard. It is 150,000 miles away, and it is made of green cheese, and it is twice as big as this palace. The king flew into another rage and sent the royal wizard back to his cave. Then he rang a gong and summoned the royal mathematician. The royal mathematician was a bald-headed, near-sighted man with a skull cap on his head and a pencil behind his ear. He wore a black suit with white numbers on it. I don't want to hear a long list of all the things you have figured out for me since 1907, the king said to him. I want you to figure out, right now, how to get the moon for the Princess Leonor. When she gets the moon, she will be well again. I am glad you mentioned all the things I have figured out for you since 1907, said the royal mathematician. It so happens that I have a list of them with me. He pulled a long scroll of parchment out of a pocket and looked at it. Now let me see. I have figured out for you the distance between the horns of a dilemma, night and day, and A and Z. I have computed how far is up, how long it takes to get away, and what becomes of gone. I have discovered the length of the sea serpent, the price of the priceless, and the square of the hippopotamus. I know where you are when you are at 6s and 7s, how much is you have to make an R, and how many birds you can catch with the salt in the ocean. 187,796,132, if it would interest you to know. There aren't that many birds, said the king. I didn't say there were, said the royal mathematician. I said if there were. I don't want to hear about 700 million imaginary birds, said the king. I want you to get the moon for the Princess Leonor. The moon is 300,000 miles away, said the royal mathematician. It is round and flat like a coin, only it is made of asbestos and half the size of the kingdom. Furthermore, it is pasted on the sky. Nobody can get the moon. The king flew into still another rage and sent the royal mathematician away. Then he rang for the court jester. The jester came bouncing into the throne room in his motley and his cap and bells and sat in front of the throne. What can I do for you, your majesty? Asked the court jester. Nobody can do anything for me, said the king mournfully. The Princess Leonor wants the moon, and she cannot be well till she gets it, but nobody can get it for her. Every time I ask anybody for the moon, it gets larger and farther away. There is nothing you can do for me except play your lute. Something sad. How big do they say the moon is? Asked the court jester, and how far away? The Lord High Chamberlain says it is 35,000 miles away and bigger than the Princess Leonor's room, said the king. The royal wizard said it is 150,000 miles away and twice as big as this palace. The royal mathematician said it is 300,000 miles away and half the size of the kingdom. The court jester strummed on his lute for a little while. They are all wise men, he said, and so they must all be right. If they are all right, then the moon must be just as large and as far away as each person thinks it is. The thing to do is find out how big the Princess Leonore thinks it is and how far away. I never thought of that, said the king.